Fortunately, I'm starting to get this gut feeling that we might not even see Caitlin back on the court this season, and that might actually be the best thing. Caitlin should be out for the rest of the season. Maybe this season is just done for her. Maybe it doesn't make sense.
Injury report that Caitlin Clark is a game time decision. I think they did that for ticket sales. I think they knew that we all was going to pick up on that and pretty much say, well, you know what? There's a chance Caitlin Clark could be coming back for this game, maybe even that game.
Okay, this is wild. Caitlin Clark just dropped a massive bombshell, hinting she might be walking away from the Indiana Fever. And honestly, she's absolutely fed up with the sheer hypocrisy of what she calls this pathetic league.
About the Caitlin Clark injury. Let's listen to her, bro.
Caitlin starting full court running last week. Has she been able to do anything extra since then or return to practice at all?
No return to practice. She's been able to get a little bit more in her full court running, with her all of her body weight. It's really building up from doing minimal to then building some endurance to do longer periods of time. She's been able to do a little bit more on the court in terms of how she moves.
Caitlin Clark's.
So there is really no timetable as to when Caitlin Clark could return. Y'all got me? There is no set time as when CC could possibly be coming back. And as of right now, the Indiana Fever is looking real spooky because they're not keeping it.
Here's the kicker. She's been stuck on the sidelines since July 17th, but the WNBA, they've been pushing out these vague, super contradictory updates. And let's be real, it's all just to milk ticket sales. And while Indiana keeps piling up losses, her serious injury, thanks to some absolutely reckless bully players, is still keeping her out of the game.
But it's looking like he don't care for Caitlin Clark. We know clear as day that Stephanie White has been looking in certain areas not to be feeling the Caitlin Clark effect. I don't know, but this stuff is definitely looking.
And seriously, don't even get me started on how they've handled these updates. First it's day to day, then suddenly she's out indefinitely. But here's my personal favorite, a game time decision against Dallas. Are you kidding me, Jizz? A game time decision for someone who literally hasn't practiced in weeks? This is just...
Specifically, the reporting around Caitlin Clark's injury, because I feel like it is getting stranger by the day. It has been a month now that Caitlin has...
What's next? Are they going to list her as probable for the 2032 season? But wait until you hear this. Coach Stephanie White herself drops the bombshell that Caitlin hasn't had one single practice. Not even one. So why the hell is she even on the game status sheet at all? Oh right, it's all about those sweet, sweet ticket sales. Gotta keep those butts in the seats and make sure those WNBA live stream numbers aren't completely dead.
Yesterday, she was listed as a game time decision for today's game against the Dallas Wings. And then after practice yesterday, Coach Stephanie White basically came out and said, like, no, Caitlin Clark hasn't even been practicing. So they changed it from a game time decision to her being out.
And let's not ignore the math here, because it's pretty damning. There are only 12 games left in the regular season, which wraps up on September 9th. Every single day she stays out makes the odds of her returning basically microscopic. Honestly, her possible return window right now is looking like a drive-thru at a closed McDonald's. You can absolutely show up, but trust me, you're not getting anything.
At the Indiana Fever's schedule right now, they only have 12 games left, and there is exactly 4 weeks left in the regular season. And the craziest...
Now moving into this absolute magical timeline circus, beat reporter Scott Agnes decided to play total mood killer and drop that now infamous "at least several more weeks" comment. Several more weeks? My guy, do you even know what season we're in? That puts her coming back for like 6 games tops before the playoffs. What's even the point to sell some last-minute comeback montage? ESPN actually thought they had it all figured out, circling August 12th as her big return. But of course, in classic WNBA fashion, game day lists started playing musical chairs, questionable in the morning, out by lunch.
Replying to someone else's comment who said, just can't wait until Cece is back. She's the most dynamic, electric player in the WNBA. Great job, Lexi. And then Scott Agnes replied and he said, have patience, at least several more weeks.
And then, surprise, surprise, Stephanie White herself finally admits it. Caitlin hasn't done a single full practice. Not one. So where exactly is this game time decision coming from? Is it a decision about whether she's going to sit on the bench in sneakers or slide? Because let's be real, if you haven't practiced, you're not playing. Everyone, and I mean everyone, knows.
Contenders at this point, I'm just not so sure. Do you risk another injury that can again compound and turn into something else down the line? Now, one other
And here's the thing you have to understand. This isn't even the first time they pulled this nonsense. Mid-season, she came back from a quad injury after exactly one full-speed practice. Just one, and what happened? She got hurt again. Can you imagine being so completely awful at managing injuries that your star player is basically stuck on the world's worst, most painful cycle? Injured, rushed back, injured again. Either the WNBA is totally incapable of communicating clearly, or they're deliberately hiding the truth. And honestly, I don't know which is worse. Both are a massive slap in the face to the fans who are literally paying for this entire mess.
a star player like that, we will never know all the information, nor should we know all the information. And that's actually good for Caitlin. It protects her for when she does come back on the court. She can't be targeted. Teams can't use a certain injury or ailment against her if people don't really know what is going on. But
you want to talk about a real disaster? Let's get into the full-blown fever meltdown that happened. In one single cursed night against Phoenix, both backup point guards who were filling in for Caitlin were completely wiped out for the season. It was like the basketball gods just decided to flip the entire table and walk out. First, Sydney Colson tears her left ACL in the first quarter. She's in her mid-30s, which in WNBA years is basically senior citizen territory for guards. An ACL at that age isn't just a season ender, it's a total career flipper, and that's brutal, because Colson wasn't just some bench warmer. She had her moments, she brought leadership, she was the steady hands when things got shaky. Now she's just gone.
Thrown back into any mix if she doesn't have significant practices under her belt before she goes into game speed. You can try to simulate game speed as much as you want in practice.
Then, as if the universe was just feeling extra petty that night, Ari McDonald goes down in the fourth quarter with a broken bone in her right foot. This happened just when she was in the middle of finally proving herself again, showing everyone she could run the offense, push the pace, and really be that spark. Boom. Just like that, her season was over too.
Colson sustained an anterior cruciate ligament ACL tear. Oh, Sydney then to her ACL in her left knee during the first quarter of the game.
It began in the first quarter.
Oh, and because the WNBA operates with all the urgency of a DMV on a lunch break, the trade deadline had passed exactly 4 days earlier. 4 days. Which means no blockbuster trades. No sneaky late season steals to save them. The Fever are literally just stuck staring at their roster like, well, guess we're totally screwed now.
I think you're wrong. Again, you think it'll be a couple more weeks before CC returns to practice. Please stop always saying negative and depressing hit about Caitlin Clark. She has been running full court consistently as reported for over a week.
And speaking of the roster, let's talk about how hilariously thin it is now. Technically, they've got 10 healthy players, but that's just on paper. In reality, Coach White outright refuses to even play Chloe Beebe, KK, or Bride Turner, which means you're basically rolling with only 7 players in a league where you absolutely need fresh legs just to survive. And yeah, I said refuses, because it's not like these players are injured. She just plain doesn't want to play them. This is like trying to cook a gourmet meal with half your ingredients because you don't like the other ones. That's not strategy, that's pure stubbornness.
Scotty Boy is right, and it's still going to be a couple weeks. You should want to be encouraging to the fans, bro. Like, you know, let's just give it some time. Not just it's finna be a couple weeks. Like, I don't know.
Now, let's look at the numbers, and they tell a story. With Clark, the Fever were 8-5. Without her, they're 9-7. That's not catastrophic yet, but it's a clear, steady slide. And with your depth chart now looking more like a middle school rec league roster, it's only gonna get uglier. Their playoff push is basically on life support, and that machine is beeping slower with every single game. And here's the absolute cherry on top. All of this chaos is happening while your biggest draw, the very face of the franchise, is sitting there in street clothes day to day for a month, while the league just pumps out vague injury updates like they're reading fortune cookies.
Now, initially, it was a growing strain, like a pulled muscle. Caitlin Clark has not played a game since July the 17th. It is now August 12th. In 5 days,
The WNBA is acting like we're all too dumb to notice what's happening, but let me tell you, fans aren't stupid. We can absolutely see the contradictions, the completely awful injury management, and the total lack of transparency. We see a coach making genuinely questionable rotation choices, a front office with no plan B in sight, and a league that's perfectly willing to milk a star's name for every last click, all without giving a single damn about what's actually going on behind the scenes.
Cohesion might be the right word. They've had cohesion issues this entire season. When Caitlin Clark is in, the team plays completely different than when Caitlin Clark is not on the court.
So Caitlin Clark sits down with Sue Bird thinking she's just doing a nice little interview, and she casually drops a story that should make every single Fever fan want to throw something at the wall. She admits that Coach Stephanie White actually benched her mid-game for 2 turnovers in a row. Okay, fine. Coaches bench players for turnovers, right? But then, the lesson was apparently that she should stop trying risky plays like a fast break pass to a teammate. And not only that, after Clark actually held back on one of those passes later, White praised her for it. You heard me right. She got a pat on the back for not doing the thing that makes her Caitlin freaking Clark.
a whole 30 plus days for a pulled muscle, essentially. I've been saying this. Caitlin Clark adding that muscle was way too fast. Probably messed up her mobility, and her basically her equilibrium is off. Her balance is off.
Clark even admitted it hurt her not to make that pass. And you know what? It absolutely should hurt. This is the stuff she's known for. The bold plays, the lightning-fast decisions, those incredible passes that make the crowd lose its mind and swing momentum instantly. But apparently that's not part of the safe cookie-cutter don't-take-risks brand of basketball that Stephanie White wants, which is honestly insane because you don't recruit the biggest name in women's basketball in years just to turn around and tell her to tone it down and be like everyone else.
Practice, she's been able to get a little bit more in her full court running, with her all of her body weight. It's really building up from doing minimal to then building some endurance to do longer periods of time. She's been able to do a little bit more on the court in terms of how she moves.
Caitlin Clark's
This, my friends, is exactly how you ruin a generational player. You basically coach the Caitlin right out of Caitlin. You strip away all that personality and flair that for once in its life put the WNBA on the front page. You turn her into just another solid player. But let me tell you, nobody is showing up or tuning in for solid. They are here for those logo threes, those impossible dimes, and those jaw-dropping plays that make people rewind their DVRs just to see if that really truly happened.
Possibly be injury prone, maybe. You know what I'm saying? We don't know because they're not being transparent with the injury. They're saying it's a growing strain. It's clearly not a strain, guys. I just want to let you know. Now, Stephanie White said this yesterday.
It's like if Steve Kerr saw Steph Curry pull up from deep, sink a three, and then immediately told him, yeah, Steph, don't do that again. Just take the mid-range jumper. Before Steph changed the entire NBA, long threes were considered bad shots. Now, they're the absolute standard. Caitlin could do the exact same thing for the WNBA if the league and her own coach don't smother her under these boring, safe tactics. But of course, the WNBA being the WNBA, they're perfectly capable of taking their one true star and literally telling her to be less interesting.
Well, this is the kind of update I never want to have to give. And this is a bad one, and it affects the same position.
Meanwhile, the team's actual situation couldn't possibly be worse. With Sydney Colson and Ari McDonald both done for the season, the Fever literally have 0 natural point guards left. None. They're forcing Kelsey Mitchell, who's built to score, to bring the ball up, and even making Aja Boston, who's a center, act like a guard sometimes. That's how desperate they are. It's honestly like making your goalie take corner kicks in soccer because you literally have no one else.
We lost 2 very, very competent players, including the starting point guard that was filling in for the other starting point guard.
Fans aren't dumb, they can absolutely see what's going on. And plenty of them strongly suspect the league is deliberately keeping Caitlin's real status under wraps just to keep eyeballs on the games. But here's the quiet part out loud. Reports floating around say she's already been privately ruled out for the rest of the regular season, which means all these little maybe she's close hints, they're nothing more than pure bait. And it's not like she's soft. Clark played an insane 5 consecutive games between college and the early part of her rookie WNBA season without missing a single one for injury. Now, she's missed games 4 separate times in just this rookie year. Quad pulls, groin pulls, all the kind of injuries you rack up when your body is getting pounded every single night and you're rushed back without enough recovery time.
They only have 12 games left, and there is exactly 4 weeks left in the regular season. And the craziest thing about this last groin injury with Caitlin Clark is how it's been covered.
The risk here is so obvious. Bring her back early, and you're just asking for another injury, maybe even something far worse that messes with her long-term career.